Hello friends, welcome to Wow IS. This is the third part of the June 2023 current affairs, and in this we are going to cover the third part of the economics. We are doing this under our initiative in which we are providing you crisp summaries of the Vision Monthly magazine for the year 2024. There will be PDFs and the whole magazine will be summarized in not more than 50 pages, and along with it you will be provided video lectures. This is only at a rate of 599 rupees. To access the PDF, you can directly enroll in the course and you will be mailed the PDF of those months. Let's start with today's topic. The first topic is production linked production linked incentive PLI scheme. It was first introduced in 2020. The objective was to promote manufacturing in multiple sectors. It is built on the foundation of multiple sectors with an incentive outlay of rupees 1 lakh 97 lakh crores, 1.97 lakh crores, that is equivalent to US $26 billion. Dollars. The objective is to strengthen their production capabilities and help create global champions. So the basic objective is to strengthen the manufacturing sector of the country. Now, what are the major objectives of the PLI scheme? The first objective is to transform India into a manufacturing hub. Next, increase investment in the manufacturing and innovation, and also to achieve self-reliance with globally competitive domestic manufacturing. The benefits of PLI scheme: it will strengthen the manufacturing sector. PLI can significantly restructure India's domestic manufacturing, push its share in the GDP to 25%. It is also expected to bring improvement in the industrial infrastructure, benefiting the overall supply chain ecosystem. Then capital expenditure. The implementation of PLI scheme will lead to a potential capital expenditure of rupees 2.5 to 3 lakh crores over the scheme period. It will account for 13 to 15% of the average annual investment spending in the key industrial sectors. Then it will help in spurring or improving the green investment, and also it will be important for self reliance and increase in the exports, because if we see to plug the gap between the highly screwed Indian import export basket, which is mainly characterized by heavy imports of raw materials and finished goods. So for improving our self reliance, PLI is very instrumental. Then faster adoption of technology, for example in telecom sector networking products, with a timely intervention of this scheme will enable faster adoption of 4G and 5G products across the India. Then reducing regional imbalances in the development. What are the other benefits? These are: PLI scheme will utilize India's abundant human capital and enable upskilling of the labor force. It will replace technologically obsolete machinery and make the manufacturing sector globally competitive. And for the better productivity, will create a thrust in the free trade agreements for better market access. What are the sectors? So these are the sectors that are covered under the PLI scheme: medical devices, drones, components, ACC battery, telecom networking, pharma, API and KSM, then white goods, specialty steels, auto and auto components, mobile and electronic components, pharma drugs, food products, textiles, electronics and IT hardware, photovoltaic modules. What are the challenges to the PLI scheme? First is ambiguity around the incentive. There is no set criteria or common parameters for consideration for giving these incentives. Then fail to capture critical factors. Efficacy of manufacturing depends on multiple factors like raw material size of the domestic market and relationship between upstream and downstream manufacturers, etc. Thus, production subsidies to scale sector specific manufacturing will not work until other critical factors shaping the ecosystem are understood and factored in. Second challenge is it may create subsidies dependent manufacturing industry. So, our industry may not develop, it will be mainly a subsidies dependent industry. Third, it will give greater orientation towards the larger firms. For example, beneficiaries under the scheme, such as automobiles, electronics, and technical textiles, are largely constituted by big firms. Then, difficulties in evaluation: the lack of centralized database that captures information like increase in production or export make the evaluation process difficult. Also, the information ambiguity impacts transparency and can lead to malafeasance, further widening the fault lines and weakening the policy structure. Next is, what are the achievements of the PLI scheme as per the Department of Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade? There has been a significant increase of FDI, that is 76% in the manufacturing sector in financial year 2021-22. The exports were boosted, and they were boosted by a value of 2.56 lakh crores. That's a good value. Third is employment generation. Around 3 lakh 25,000 people got employed, or the jobs were created. Then actual investment of 62,500 crore has been realized till March 2023. Then import substitution of 60% has been achieved in the telecom sector. So it is a positive. These are the positive steps these are the achievements of the PLI scheme. Next, enhanced collaboration. There should be dynamic collaboration between industry players, research institutions, and academia to foster innovation, research, and development. Then strengthening institutional mechanism for targeted implementation. A strong, technically evolved institutional mechanism accountable to the highest level of governance is necessary. Then ensure smooth implementation by reducing bureaucratic hurdles and simplifying application process such as process can be considered. Then periodic evaluation. Regular monitoring and evaluation of the PLI scheme's outcome can help identify areas for improvement and make necessary adjustment to achieve the goal. Then focus on MSME. Separate provisions can be created within the PLI scheme to incentivize the MSME sector. Last implementation can be complement with other reforms. Along with PLI, there should be focus on skill development programs and technology upgradation initiatives. Now, next topic is fertilizer sector in India. The Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs has approved a unique package of innovative schemes for farmers with a total outlay of 3.7 lakh crores. So, still a big amount. India's fertilizer sector, second largest fertilizer consuming country after China. India is the third largest producer of fertilizers and among world's largest importer of the fertilizer material. Key highlights: PM Program for Restoration, Awareness Generation, Nourishment and Amelioration of Mother Earth, that is PM Pranam, announced in the budget 2023-24 to incentivize states and UTs to promote alternate fertilizers and balanced use of the chemical fertilizers. Rupees 1452 crore has been approved by the Market Development Assistance for promoting organic fertilizers. Organic fertilizers, that is known as Gobardhan, galvanizing organic bioagro resource dhan plants. Gobardhan was launched in 2018 under Swachh Bharat Mission Gramin SMBG to positively impact village cleanliness and generate wealth and energy from cattle and organic waste. Introduction of sulfur coated urea gold for the first time to address the sulfur deficiency of soil and save input cost for the farmers. Then it is known as urea gold. It is more economical and efficient than the currently used neem coated urea. Then urea subsidy scheme. It is a central sector scheme, has been extended for another 3 years till March 2025 to maximize indigenous production of urea to reach self-sufficiency levels by 2025-26. Initiatives taken for efficient use of fertilizers. One Nation, One Fertilizer scheme was announced by Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers under Fertilizer Subsidy Scheme named Pradhan Mantri Bharatiya Janvark Pariyojana to ensure timely supply of fertilizers. The Nano Urea liquid plant set up to boost productivity and help increase their income. Fertilizer flying squads are constituted by Department of Fertilizer to stop diversification and black marketing. The nutrient-based subsidy scheme, under this a fixed rate of subsidy is announced on the nutrients like nitrogen, phosphate, potassium and sulfur by the government on annual basis. It is applicable to 22 fertilizers other than urea for which MRP will be decided taking into account the international and domestic prices of P and K fertilizers, exchange rate and inventory level in the country. Then Soil Health Card Scheme provides crop-wise recommendations of the nutrients and fertilizers required for the individual farms. Fertilizer industry in India. Fertilizers are classified as primary, secondary and micronutrients. Primary fertilizers are further classified on the type of nutrients that supply to soil, such as nitrogenous, phosphatic, ammonium phosphate, and potassic murinate of the potassium fertilizers. Secondary fertilizers include calcium, magnesium, and sulfur, while micronutrients include iron, zinc, boron, chloride, etc. Concerns associated with the use of fertilizers in India. Soil degradation. Excessive use of urea adversely impacts soil fertility, crop quality, and can lead to pest and insect attacks. Also, plants are damaged due to decreased fertility and toxicity of ammonia carbon dioxide released from the urea degradation. Environmental pollution. Excessive use of fertilizers containing substances like nitrates and phosphates can contribute to eutrophication. It further leads to algal bloom, oxygen depletion, and harms aquatic life, thereby disrupting the food chain and ecosystem balance. Nitrogen based fertilizers emit nitrous oxide, a potent greenhouse gas exacerbating climate change. Then, about human health. Agricultural ammonia emissions can combine with pollution and from vehicle exhaust to create dangerous particulates in air and exacerbate respiratory diseases. So, this can be a negative impact. The nitrates and phosphate chemicals present in fertilizers can percolate to groundwater and contaminate drinking water sources, thus increasing the risk of cancer in adults. Fiscal burden. Government provides subsidized fertilizers to farmers, which is leading to a huge fiscal burden in the states. For example, total fertilizer subsidy stood at 1.62 lakh crores in 2021-22. The next is promoting inefficiency. The subsidy leads to cost of determination. The greater the cost, larger is the subsidy. So it is promoting inefficiency in the subsidies. Then import dependency. India is the top importer of urea, imports an average of 7 million tons of annual diammonium phosphate needed to feed its huge agricultural sector. Then limited awareness, lack of soil testing, scientific application of fertilizers, and lack of awareness with respect to balanced use of nutrients leads to their indiscriminate use and hampering the soil quality in longer run. The ideal NPK ratio should be 4 is to 2 is to 1. However, during the Kharif season, it gets distorted to 12.8 is to 5 is to 1. What is the way ahead? First of all, focus on efficient use, improving fertilizer efficiency through need based use. Second, promote local production. Third one is the focus should be on sustainability, use of bio and organic fertilizers, incentivize farmers to shift from chemical fertilizers to environmentally friendly fertilizers. Then soil testing, providing access to affordable soil testing facilities. Awareness, conduct awareness campaigns to educate farmers on appropriate fertilizer use, negative environmental impacts of the overuse on productivity and soil fertility, and promote sustainable agricultural practices. Research and development, invest in R&D to develop fertilizer delivery system that promote fertilizer efficiency and slow release fertilizer to improve nutrient use efficiency. Next is regulation of the startup ecosystem. Experts have pointed out that self-regulation is essential for the startup environment to thrive. Incorporating a company in India is a complex process. What are the issues with the regulation of this startup? First of all, the incorporation. When you are starting a company, it takes at least 2 to 3 months on average, unlike Singapore's 2-day average. Second, Indian startups face regulatory challenges such as dispute resolution due to frequent policy changes, making it difficult for startups to plan and operate their business effectively. Then there is a challenge of lack of challenge of funding also, because they encounter funding issues such as venture capital firms targets established startups. So new startups do not get fund easily. Then there is challenge of intellectual property right also. For example, protecting their IPR as enforcement of IPR is time consuming and costly process, and they may face difficulties in combating infringement disputes. Then taxation, despite tax benefits to startups, they face issues related to tax compliance, and when it comes to issues such as transfer policy, valuation of shares, and taxation of the angel investment. Next is sandbox approach. Establish regulatory sandboxes allowing startups to test innovative products or services. Then policy to enable funding, creating a comprehensive, precise business policy emphasizing on vision, objectives, and growth potential can help attract venture capitalists and angel investors. Then innovative funding ideas such as crowdfunding can be encouraged and supported. Regulatory research to keep up with the startups, conducting in-depth research on relevant regulations, seeking legal counsel, maintaining transparency and compliance, and utilizing technology to streamline processes can help in overcome the regulatory obstacles. Next is intellectual property protection, expediting patent examination, establishing IPR facilitation centers, and awareness generation can enhance the IP protection framework. Next topic is Investor Service Fund and Investor Protection Fund. SEBI has come out with the comprehensive guidelines for the IPF and ISF maintained by stock exchanges and depositories. Investor Protection Fund. The objective is to protect the interests of the participants of the exchange. All stock exchanges and depositories shall establish an IPF that shall be administered through separate trust created for the purpose. The IPF trust of the stock exchange and depository shall consist of 5 trustees, 3 public interest directors, 1 representative from SEBI, and chief regulatory officer CRO or compliance officer. The maximum tenure of the trustee excluding CRO and CO shall be 5 years as specified by the SEBI. Then segregated funds. The stock exchange and depository shall ensure that funds in the IPF are well segregated and their IPF is immune from any liability of the stock exchanges and depositories respectively. Review. Stock exchange and depository shall conduct half-yearly review to ascertain their adequacy of the IPF corpus. Then Investor Service Fund. ISF aims at providing different kinds of services to the investing public such as investor education and awareness programs, dissemination of companies information, etc. Funding. The stock exchange shall set aside at least 20% of the listing fee received for ISF for providing services to the investing public. Supervision of the ISF will rest with the Regulatory Oversight Committee. The Regulatory Oversight Committee is one of the 7 committees of the Market Infrastructure Institutions specified by Stock Exchanges and Clearing Corporations Regulation 2018. Utilization of ISF of stock exchange. Promotion of investor education and investor awareness. At least 50% of the corpus should be spent on Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. Cost of training of arbitrators. So these are the how this ISF shall be utilized. Then transfer of unutilized IPF or ISF. If anything is they are unutilized, then depository is wound up or derecognized or exists, then the balance of the IPF or ISF lying unutilized with the stock exchange repository shall be transferred to the Investor Protection and Education Fund of SEBI. Then Investor Protection and Education Fund it was established in 2000 by SEBI and it comes under the SEBI IPEF Regulation 2009. It is funded through contribution made by SEBI, grants and donation by central government or state government, security deposit and amount of IPF, ISF of derecognized stock exchanges. Next topic is middle class in Indian economy. 31% of the Indian population is middle class. People Research on Indian Consumer Economy Price and Indian Citizen Environment Report has stated this. The middle class holds a quarter of the country's wealth. What is the significance of 1991 for middle class? Size of middle class in 1991 was less than 1%. Economic growth post 1991 reform expanded the size of middle class substantially. The current middle class, which is characterized by consumer driven sentiment, can be said to have taken shape in this era. Why middle class is important? Higher consumption. It accounts for expanding demand for the consumer durables, housing, shopping malls, and other infrastructure. Tax contribution. Middle class accounts for 79% of the total taxpayer base. Savings and human capital. About half of the income, expenditure, and saving is with this section. It is a major contributor to savings and human capital. Virtuous cycle. Once the size of the middle class passes a threshold size, a virtuous cycle is initiated. A bigger middle class spends more, lending to higher business profits, savings and investment, higher growth, and an even larger middle class. Challenges faced by middle class. Increased cost of living. The cost of a typical middle class lifestyle has increased faster than the income. This has been driven by consumption patterns which tend to imitate the behavior of richer peers. Steep inflation eroded the purchasing power of this class, and a large chunk of the household budget is being eaten away by the food and fuel. Then widespread informal sector is there. The shunted middle class is considered both the cause and consequences of widespread informal sector that is commonly estimated to account 90% of the employment but generates only third of the value added to the economy. Then contribution benefit gap. There is a perception among the middle class that their contribution in the form of taxes is much more than the benefits they receive from the government services. Then limited socio-economic mobility. The middle class may also face difficulties in improving their socio-economic status as there may be limited opportunities for social mobility in the country. Also, barriers such as caste-based, gender-based discrimination further hinder socio-economic mobility. Road ahead to overcome these challenges. Improving public infrastructure. Better basic infrastructure is closely intertwined with productivity and inclusion. Efficient and affordable transportation can enable finding better work further away from home and create more options for leisure, recreation, and shopping. Enhancing formal economy at the micro level and greater sense of job security would positively affect longer term financial planning. At the macro level, aggregate household consumption would rise, resulting in stronger domestic demand, which offers more opportunities for local entrepreneurs and small businesses. Tackling the cost of living issue, decent, affordable, and accessible housing, including home ownership, is key element of the middle class status. Policies need to address shortages in the supply while helping households through demand side support. Next is supporting education and health. Policies to support students from middle class and middle income families for tertiary education include tuition fee loans, assistance for non tuition costs such as books can be considered. An expansion of deepening of the healthcare and healthcare cost coverage could provide substantial relief to the middle class. Then possible reforms in the taxation system, eliminating the bracket creep, that is an inflation induced increase in tax rates which affects middle class taxpayers in the particular, could be considered. So for we end for the today, and we will start from railway safety in India from tomorrow onwards. Thank you very much and have a very nice day.